Hi and welcome to another video cast, and today we're going to be looking at the Queen of Cups. I think I indicated that the following card would be the Queen of Swords at the end of the last video, but we'll go to the correct sequence. That was my mistake. We're going to go to the Queen of Cups, and in a sense the analysis of this card is, I thought, gosh, that's really not what the card is all about. The card is not about analysis. It's all about the finding oneness in things, not breaking things down and analysing things. So it's all about a samadhi in a sense. So in that respect it's a very good principle to meditate on, and the card itself, looking at the card in what's actually drawn, she's drawn as blended into her watery environment there by a lake, and you can barely see her, and that's the whole point, because your mind can't actually grasp her. So in order to know her, you've got to let go of the intellect. So anyway, we will do an analysis of the card, just so we've got a completeness to the series. The three minor arcana cards that she represents and rules, rather, she rules the first two decans of Cancer and the last decan of Gemini. Now, the cards of Cancer that she rules are the Two of Cups, which is again a lovely looking card, and we've got a mercurial element to the Three of Cups here, and the last one, the last decan of Gemini, is the Ruin card, which is a Ten of Swords. And you're probably thinking, how can such potentially negative card be associated with such a beautiful court card? But as we've indicated, the court cards do represent people, and they are complex beings, so you'll see my interpretation of that in the next section, along with some astrology, Kabbalah, and we'll have a look at the way that Aleister Crowley's related her to the I Ching. Okay, see you in the next bit. Okay, we'll go on to the astrological association of the Queen of Cups, and as we can see, she rules the last decan of Gemini, which is associated with the Ten of Swords, and the first two decans of Cancer, which involves the 2 and 3 of Cups. So she essentially rules 21 degrees Gemini to 20 degrees of Cancer. Going on to her sub-elements, we can see that she is water of water in the table here. Tetragrammaton here, she's associated with the hay, the female aspect, which is associated with the Great Sea of Vinar, and she's associated with the third Sephiroth. And obviously the cups are associated with the second world Bria here, so she's associated with the third Sephiroth here, and that is all about B.O.T.A is all about receiving the energy from Hokmar and creating forms with that, so that there is a certain creativity with the third Sephiroth there. So what we'll do is we'll go on to a description of the Queen of Cups now. We'll move on to what Crowley says basically with regards to her. He basically says that her image is of extreme purity and beauty with infinite subtlety. To see the truth of her is hardly possible, as we can see, because you can't really see her in the photo here, for she reflects the nature of the observer in great perfection. So she's a reflection of everybody. She sees the universality behind things. She moves away from the personal and moves into the more universal, the more spiritual, the more intuitive. When people are seeing things intuitively, they see more the oneness rather than the separation through the mind. So in many ways she would be a good spiritual teacher. He also says she's able to receive and transmit everything without herself being affected. So she's like a channel for spirit. That is if she is being open and true to herself and not badly affected by others. And as we shall see in this card, she's one of the cards she is very vulnerable to what other things are in the spread. So if we've got lots of negativity in the spread, she can take that on. So we'll move on now just to what symbology is contained in this card, which is quite difficult because you can't really, the mind wants to get around what's in the card, and yet that really isn't the nature of what she's trying to convey. But anyway, we've got this moon in the background there, and that is issuing rays of light which surround her. The moon is associated with the 9 Sephiroth because it's Yesod. Yesod is actually ruled by the moon. So the moon conveys things like nurturing, emotions, feelings, instincts. The nurturing aspect being very close to the Cancerian element of the card. So the curves of light act as a veil. In her left hand here you have like a shell. Let's see if I can just... There's a shell here, a conch shell in her left hand, which is like a receptive vessel for water. Again, B.O.T.A, the Sephiroth that she's associated with, has been described as, I said, the Great Sea. Again, this is just reflective of that. Probably a bit more symbolic is this like crayfish here coming out with the 3 prongs there. 3 prongs, which basic grasp of the glyphs of astrology will tell you that the 3 prongs is associated with Neptune, which is a planet associated with inspiration and again delusion. Neptune was the god of the sea. The planet Neptune is also thought to rule the pineal gland, which is associated with third eye activation and like spirituality, intuition, that sort of thing. So water is symbolic of deeper emotions and dreams. So the Queen of Cups takes on some of the qualities of the planet Neptune as indicated by that the shape of the crayfish here. So what are those qualities? Well, we've got dreams, intuition, psychic ability, imagination, mysticism, also like the deception, shadow, hidden side of life. There's a reference in the notes that go with the video there. But that gives you a basic idea of the Neptunian influence of the card. There's also quite an emphasis on this reflection, as above so below. So the double reflection indicates that she accurately sort of reflects what's on the inside to the outside. Doesn't need to assert herself aggressively to do this, it's just a very calm, peaceful process. She also has a white lotus in her right hand. This has 9 petals to the lotus there. I've tried counting them, I can't count 9. Again, 9 is symbolic of the 9 Sephiroth, which is associated with the moon, and that's the nurturing aspect. And as you can see in the foreground here, we've got 2 other lotus blossoms which are indicative of Gemini, which is one of the astrological signs that she rules, which is the back end, the 10th, the third decan of Gemini, which is the 10 of Swords. We've got this Ibis Bird here, which she has her right hand on the top of. found a picture of an Ibis Bird there. So this Ibis Bird, the Ibis Bird is said to be associated with the god Thoth, which is on the front of the Book of Thoth, Egyptian moon god. It's to do with the intellect, and since she has her hand on top of the bird, it's like she has control of her intellect. Again, it's associated with the 8 Sephiroth, which is Horde, which is all to do about the intellect. So she has control of her intellect, and it does not dominate her, so her intuitive and more spiritual aspects can flow, because the intellect just wipes out our spiritual aspects. We need to move on from the diversity of the mind and the way the mind divides things up. So because she's all about oneness, she doesn't want the division of the mind to interfere with her natural abilities. So that's what that aspect of the card is about. Now we really have to move on to the 3 cards that she rules, and we will go on to the 2 of Cups here, which is a lovely card, ruled by, well, it's Venus in Cancer. Cancer again, that other element of her nature. So there's lots of love, harmony, nurturing. Love is a complete acceptance of something in its highest sense, and she displays this love outwardly and inwardly. So she has this acceptance of all things and can merge to become one with them, as we see in the original card. We have, for one, I couldn't get a better diagram, we've got the 3 of Cups here. We've got a Mercurian element in here, and we talked about the intellect being something which she does not want to rule her, and yet Mercury does come in here because it gives her the ability to communicate her feelings accurately. This card is also about making strong bonds with people. Again, she's very popular because she can just see through people, but she does that in a very nice way, and she uses that to be able to relate to people. So people always like to be understood and related to. So this card also shows that there's a richness to her friendships, and the people that she touches can have many insights if she chooses to teach. As I said, she's a wonderful spiritual teacher, and also she gains a lot of practical skills from Mercury as well, so she has got this down-to-earth element. The Magician is ruled by Mercury, so again we have clear thought and speech coming in there. But as with all of the court cards, there is a shadow side to her, and we've got the 10 of Swords here, which is ruin. I think, what can ruin possibly have to do with this card? Well, the Queen of Cups can be very influenced by her environment. In fact, Crowley says that virtually no other card is more influenced by their environment than the Queen of Cups. So this card comes in the sense that she could have, in the past or indeed in the present, she could have been influenced by people that have hurt her, that have ruined her, either financially or emotionally. And I know people that has happened to. They basically just take on the characteristics of other people. So in order to maybe have helped someone in the past, she has just got sort of enveloped in their problems and just got overrun by them. I've seen that happen so many times. This is where this card comes in, and it can leave scars with the Queen of Cups. So she becomes, as Crowley says, she distorts the reflection in the lake. It becomes a distorted reflection and not a true reflection, and that's when she becomes ill-dignified, because she's not reflecting her true inner truth. So we'll move on to the hexagram, because Mr. Crowley does indicate that he associates each court card with a hexagram. and the actual photograph is not there. I did crop and edit it, so obviously I didn't do a great job with that, but it's the I'll try to fix that for next time and make sure I got it up. But it's the 58th hexagram, Chewy, and it's lake over lake. So he associates 58th hexagram because the queen is water of water, so he's got lake above lake, and that represents this particular hexagram in the book I've got is all about, it's called encouraging or joy. So in personal relationships we have the opportunity to communicate more deeply than before, and the encouraging aspect of the hexagram fits in with her ability to teach and encourage others by speaking from the heart in a gentle way. Because this lake is nothing violent, it's nothing like the Queen of Wands where you've got all that fire going on. She sits on a throne of fire. Well, the Queen of Cups sits on a lake, so there's always a calmness about her and the way she goes about her business. So it's all about 58th hexagram, all about expressing your depth to others and see that reflected in how they respond. Crowley says it may really be said that normally people of this type have no character at all of their own, unless it can be called a characteristic to be at the disposition of every impact or impression. So what he's saying is that these people often take on the characteristics of others. So, almost done. We'll move on to Divinatory Meanings now. So we'll put all that together. We can see now where Divinatory Meanings comes from with the Queen of Cups. So upright, and we've got someone who's intuitive, emotionally mature, able to get along with others and relate to her friends in a deep way, meditative, and can go within and be at one with herself, with nature and spirit. Can be practical and communicate her feelings and realizations. Also then can indicate the need to get in touch with the ones in the feelings and be able to express that with others if you feel that's lacking at the moment, and the need to develop intuitively and emotionally. We talked a little bit about the shadow aspect, which is this card here. So reversed, past hurts distorting her intuitive psychic qualities, could also be lost in psychic realms without grounding, has difficulty relating to others, too influenced by environment and lost herself to negative and destructive people, unable to find her own identity, again as too lost in other people, spiritually lost, emotionally in a bad place, depression which can run deep. So for this more unfavourable position for the Queen of Cups, Crowley says, everything that passes through her is refracted and distorted. But speaking generally, her characteristics depend mostly upon the influence which affect her. So she distorts, in this case, her true nature. I'm going to finish off now with the Celtic Cross. So if the Queen of Cups comes up in a Celtic Cross, first I'm not going to go through every one, but they are in my notes. First position, if she comes up in the first position, the heart of the matter, it could mean that we're trying to get in touch with our spirituality, our intuition, our emotions, and we really want to, it's the reading's all about that and getting them expressed in the world. Comes up as the crossing card, Queen of Cups. It suggests we're not in touch with these sort of qualities, our intuition. Maybe our intellect is too dominant and it's stopping us from expressing what we really feel. Recent past could be that we've been too influenced by others, emotionally drained and hurt, and so we're not able to reflect our true nature. Short-term future could mean that we're working on releasing old hurts which may be painful, but a process in which we would be more emotionally open thereafter. Our environment. It could indicate that our environment is very spiritual, going with the flow, lots of abundance of love and friendship in our environment. Guidance and warning, the need not to set boundaries, to so that we're not negatively influenced by others, to make sure that the people that are influencing us are complementing our positivity, our strong points. And we'll go for the overall outcome just to finish. That's just telling us that we're going to be more in touch with our feelings, better be able to relate to others. We could have some sort of teaching role spiritually, but just generally the emphasis would be spiritually being more in touch with yourself and reflecting this in the world. So I hope that gives you some idea of the general flavour of this card. Thanks for bearing with me, another long tutorial, and we'll move on to the Queen of Swords in the next video. Take care of yourselves, thanks very much for listening, bye for now.